coming off what was only I could describe as the hilarity of asking the serious question, is Lee Anderson the future of of politics? Which again I am struggling not to laugh at because it is just such a ridiculous question to ask. No, he is not the future of politics in any way, shape, or form. Far from it. He is a very, very small minority of people who would vote for someone like him. And as someone pointed out in the comments, there are pubs up and down the UK of people who would often say, "Oh, you should be MP." But think about it for a serious question. If you know someone like that, would you seriously actually want to make them an MP? Yeah, exactly. I thought not. But unfortunately, I do agree with Conservative Home on just this one point, and that's the title of the article. We're not going to go over the article because, well, we'll go over that in a moment. But I do agree with the title of the debate about this is only just beginning. I do agree with that fundamental point. And this is because they want to make this the new Brexit question, hoping that this can at least get them another 5 years in office to continue to mumble and fumble things up and just make, the UK even worse. Like I say, they've had 13 years in power at this point. They haven't exactly made anything better. They've only actively made things even worse than before. And doing this, leaving the European Court of Human Rights, it would be a disaster of monumental proportions. So the idea, and I think Conservative Home does a disservice to its readers by not really telling them the truth about what this would actually entail, what the consequences would be. And we're going to go over two of the pretty big consequences as well. But before that, we're obviously going to talk about the article, why I think what the true reason most Conservatives are annoyed about the European Court of Human Rights, and of course, the real reason why they want to get rid of it. But before we do go on into talking about that, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and the one-off link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And of course, there is the YouTube thank you button, and of course, the Pony Club down below as well. So, pointless going over the article. Why? Well, there was also very, very similar article to this in the Telegraph, and both had the exact same argument of point. Why should we allow foreign, and the Telegraph was very pointed, calling them foreign judges, allowing them to dictate UK law? Well, this is actually very simple, because compared to the one in Conservative Home, compared to the Telegraph, and I will give, was it Paul? What's the writer now? Paul Goodman. I will give Paul Goodman at least certainly a bit more praise than the guy who wrote the Telegraph article, very similar vein to this. You see, the UK is a signatory to a number of international treaties. And one of the things that the European Court of Human Rights does is it enforces those treaties that the signatories are party to. So you see this all the time, of not only just the European Court saying in the case of sort of the refugee situation, but even in the UK, of UK judges saying, hey, the way the law stands, you can't do that. And politicians getting annoyed at judges for enforcing the rules that the politicians made. and that's the real reason here we are. Because even if you do leave the Convention on European Human Rights, the UK is still very much a big signatory to a lot of international treaties, especially when it comes to the treatment of refugees, which we will not be able to get away with. And then if this is the argument that, oh, we we had to get rid of the European Court to send people to Rwanda. Well, guess we're going to have to leave the UN treaties, because that's the level that we're going to have to go to if and logically follow through these people who want to leave the European Court of Debate. This is where their logical step ends up. We end up then leaving UN treaties, which also means potentially we cannot be part of the UN. That's where this is going, and I will give Paul some positive that he says, that it is just the European Court enforcing international treaties that we are party to. This is the situation of politicians being upset at judges because they are saying, hey, you must follow, we're just enforcing the rules you signed up to. And especially when it comes to the European Court, there are two big things that this would cause huge, huge ramifications, which most of these conservative writers or people who are having this debate aren't talking about. And the first one, of course, is should we leave? Let's say this referendum happens and we leave. Well, hoped you enjoyed negotiating that oven-ready Brexit deal, because guess what? We've got to do that all over again. Because the European Court of Human Rights was central. You may remember the quote that the ECHRA runs through that entire deal like a stick of rock. So hope you enjoyed all those Brexit negotiations, because if you leave, you're going to have to do them all again. And this time, you're going to have to do them as a third country. And I don't think the EU is going to be as nice as it was the first time around. So that's one issue. So you'd have a massive trade war going on between the UK and the EU if you do that. Meanwhile, simultaneously, as that is happening, you have just also pressed the plunger on destroying the Good Friday Agreement, because the Good Friday Agreement has the European Court of Human Rights once again at its center. You destroy one of the most successful peace agreements that has ever been created in the world, risking sectarian violence, terrorism. So not only does the Windsor Protocol, the Windsor Framework, go potentially also completely out of the window, it raises all those questions once again about what to do about Northern Ireland. So all that is opened up. And then, of course, you've got the Good Friday Agreement going up. So the Irish, and particularly the Americans, are not going to be pleased. And the Americans will sanction us. They absolutely will sanction the UK should this happen. Like, at the moment, America, or at least I haven't seen any sort of big Americans make comment about this. But that is a reality of what could happen. That you've blown up one of the most successful trade agreement, well, not the most successful peace agreements ever. You open up the whole Northern Ireland trade issue again that happened because of Brexit. You've blown up the whole Brexit withdrawal agreement. So there's a massive trade war going on between the UK and the EU. America is going to put massive pressure on the UK to rejoin the European Court of Human Rights, or to seriously say, hey, are you really going to go through this? Because if not, you're going to face sanctions and we are going to punish you for this. This is not a serious debate. Like the idea that conservatives are considering this goes to show you this is not a serious debate. The real true point, as we said at the beginning, is that you have politicians annoyed at the fact that judges are enforcing rules that the politicians signed up to. And they're annoyed that judges are doing that. And the thing is, that's the judge's entire job. That's what judges are there to do. But yeah, this entire debate is stupid. It's a non-starter and should be binned and seen for the absolute dangerous nonsense that this whole thing really is. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.